It's time to get educated on the craziness impacting K-12 classrooms and college campuses around the world. This is the Dr. Duke Show.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Dr. Duke Show. We've got a great show for you. So today, please hit that share button and help us to keep growing. We're kicking things off by identifying some of the worst colleges in the country for academic learning and free speech. Higher institutions that have sold out to wokeism and condemn all forms of speech that aren't aligned with leftist thinking. Each year, the Foundation for Individual Rights, that's an organization called FIRE, a legal nonprofit that defends the First Amendment rights of professors and students, they assemble a list of the worst colleges for free speech. My own university, the University of Wisconsin-Oshkosh, routinely ends up on this list. They did last year, the only UW system campus, I believe, that was. As FIRE explains, these universities, quote, have been steadfast in their refusal to grant students and faculty even the most basic guarantees of freedom or fairness in dealing with speech. Here are three of the worst that we can talk about. University of Florida. The University of Florida denied a number of professors' requests to serve as expert witnesses in a lawsuit about voting rights legislation. In October, the professors Sharon Wright, Austin, Michael McDonald, and Daniel Smith filed disclosure forms with the University of Florida concerning their planned involvement in the voting rights lawsuit. The university denied these requests, vaguely claiming that the professors' activity, quote, may pose a conflict of interest to the executive branch of the state of Florida, and that, quote, litigation against the state is adverse to UF's interests. So speech is fine unless it bothers us at the university. You can have all the free speech you want at the University of Florida, just not speech that causes us any grief. The university's decision was met with outrage, and other professors began to come forward to describe similar instances of censorship. Fortunately, the professors had the last laugh. Under rising pressure, UF relented and allowed the professors to testify, and ultimately revised the policy for the university, the faculty members' outside activities, to make it more able to engage in this kind of speech-protected activity. The University of Florida's viewpoint discrimination has also occurred on the basis of race. As the Daily Wire reported last year, the school invited all of the students in an anthropology course to a virtual town hall, except, you guessed it, white kids. Heading now to Stanford University. Used to be, not long ago, Stanford was considered one of the few more right-leaning universities. Not anymore. Stanford has gone in all leftist. In December, Stanford's undergraduate senate declined to fund a college Republican's request for a speaker event with former President Mike Pence, the blandest guy in human history. Scheduled to be held later this month. Student senators initially cited concerns about the spread of COVID-19 and the potential for the event to draw large crowds from outside the county and the state in delaying the request. However, audio recordings suggest the decision was instead based on objections to the propagation of ideals or morals and values, not safety. And finally, we close with another university that's been in the news a lot for this kind of stuff, the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill. Last year, the University of North Carolina considered hiring 1619 Project founder Nicole Hannah-Jones as a journalism professor, even suspending the normal tenure process to do so, and the fact that she had no end degree to be able to warrant this professorship. When other professors expressed their disdain, administrators surveilled their communications. Specifically, UNC targeted journalism professors Deb Acott and Daniel Kreis, both who have given interviews or spoken out on social media about their frustration with the university's handling of Hannah-Jones's tenure bid. Not only were they going to hire Hannah-Jones, they were going to give her tenure. The university called Acott and Kreis in for investigatory meetings, claiming it was doing its due diligence to discover who had disclosed the allegedly confidential donor agreement between UNC and Walter Hussman, the mega donor after whom UNC Journalism School is named. The problem? Neither Acott nor Kreis had access to the donor agreement before it was widely distributed. Thus, it would have been difficult for either professor to have been the source. Indeed, Fire points out that this entire bit of business was motivated by the school's own electronic privacy policy, which generally disallows administrators from looking through faculty mails. Unbelievable behavior in North Carolina, at Stanford University, at the University of Florida, and we haven't even got to the Berkeleys of the world yet, so God help us.
Today's show is sponsored by our friends at MyPillow. Save up to 66% on all items at MyPillow.com when you use the code Dr. Duke. That's DRDUKE. Support this show by supporting a great American company.
Good Valentine's Week to all you lovers of freedom. Unfortunately, today's all about those who don't want you to celebrate your love. Now, I realize I'll have to, at some point, make a second and third edition to the very, very long list of those who showed us all the hate, which they all call love and caring, throughout the past 2 years. But for now, just know that they love to follow the science.
Here's the science is saying now that masks work, masks make a difference, and there's a relationship.
Are you afraid, though, that some states and cities are moving too quickly to loosen indoor mask mandates?
Well, you know, it's I committed that I would follow the science as put forward by the CDC and the federal people, and I think it's probably premature, but it's a tough call.
And know that Joe loves you, but only you as a collective, so not really at all.
Well, look, I love how people talk about personal freedom. If you're exercising personal freedom puts someone else in jeopardy, their health in jeopardy. I don't consider that dealing with freedom. It's about moving in a direction you know is likely to diminish the prospects that this virus continues to spread. And so I think people should get the shots. We know the shots work. We know they work for the variants that are available or that we are dealing with now. We know we have so many more tools at our disposal to prevent death and prevent serious illness. And I just think they should be careful. And if they're not careful for themselves, at least think of their children. Think of their families.
Yes, please do think of the children and how they are muzzled for 8 hours a day, and how they are segregated at school if they want personal freedom to not be muzzled, and how they have record high depression, anxiety, and suicide attempts, and how they have lost more than a year of education which already wasn't good to begin with. But please, tell me more.
I am in favor of an off-ramp on masks.
Right.
The real issue becomes, is the spread low enough so that there's no dissemination or transmission in schools? And it's not the teachers transmitting to kids. It's more kids, particularly in elementary schools right now.
Which, makes sense as to why the children must be muzzled and the adults get to smile for the camera. Check out last week's video about Stacey Abrams if you want to witness full-blown hypocrisy like no other. That brings us to today's question. How long will the kids be the pawns in this game of science? Let me know your thoughts in the comments, and if you could share this video, then we can get thoughts from all over the country, and we can get comments about this lady, a lover of her own chatter.
My purpose right now is just to win that election. Is to win that election. Nothing less is at stake than our democracy.
And Nancy loves you so much that everything is about her. That's just how much love she has. But it's also about you, but her.
Very important in all that is what it means personally to the American people, to their kitchen table issues, whether they're going to be able to pay for food, for medicine, for rent, children's education, and the rest. So our focus that unifies our Democrats, you talked about what may have divided a few of them, what unifies us is the empathy that we have for America's working families and the priority of meeting their need. Lower cost, bigger paychecks, lower taxes, all paid for by making everyone pay their fair share with a great president.
Buzzwords. All she goes on are buzzwords. She doesn't believe it for one iota, but buzzwords are repeatable. So yes, the kitchen table, and in her case, that kitchen table, probably made of gold, make sure to match the $24,000 for each of her double fridge and freezers that are chock full of bougie ice creams.
I don't know what I would have done if ice cream were not invented. I just wonder.
So much love. Then you have another lady along the same lines as Nancy, but with even more love, with herself. You know who it is.
You know?
We know. And we most certainly know that all of that Russian collusion indictment that Hillary threw around, and by threw I mean she continues to this day, until now. A new report by Special Counsel John Durham states that a technology company was paid by the 2016 Hillary Clinton presidential campaign to infiltrate the internet servers that belonged to Trump Tower and then the White House. And all of it helped to fabricate the entire Trump-Russian collusion. John Durham for Person of the Year 2022. But there's more. News came out that Joe Biden's campaign, the current president, Joe Biden, his campaign also hired the same tech firm, New Start Information Services. Aboom Shani Nani. Now, I don't blame you if you are just learning about this now, because most of the mainstream news couldn't be bothered to report on such journalism. Just to demonstrate so very easily how bad the media is, look at CNN's top page for Monday, the first weekday back after finding out about this bombshell report. There's Russian news on there, but it's about that figure skater, so nope, nada. And MSNBC had it nowhere on their website. And I mean nowhere, but they did report twice on what Fox News is reporting. No shock there.
I am shooketh.
For their part, Fox ran it all day and night because the Hillary discussed bleeds, so naturally it leads. Meanwhile, Hillary decided to show the love with a 1970s photo of her and Billy. Back when times were simpler, he wasn't stooping the interns and emails weren't even a thing. Speaking of emails, Hillary wants you to know that for only $30 and your soul, you too can have a hat that says, but her emails. That's another one that didn't age well. And neither did all the tweets, comments, accusations about masking up at all times, except of course because hypocrite's gonna hypocrite. Insert all of the celebrities at the Super Bowl who care so much about all of us that they pulled their masks off and showed who they really are. Oh yeah. They love you so much. They did that for you. I know I didn't see Whoopi at the Super Bowl, but it's probably because she was prepping for her grand return to The View. Sorry, that was Whoopi's return a few years ago from having pneumonia. In 2022, when you make racist comments, you just return from a suspension with a little less oomph, but you still have to provide commentary that no one wants.
This is what we've been hired to do. And it's not always pretty, as I said, and it's not always as other people would like to hear. But it is an honor to sit at this table and be able to have these conversations because they're important. They're important to us as a nation and to us more so as a human entity.
What a Karen. You must remember that Karen Elaine Johnson did threaten to quit The View, but quitters wouldn't even take her. To note on that clip, you could so tell Whoopi wanted to say human race, and she just couldn't do it. So roses are red, violets are blue, and many on the left still hate me and you. But for what it's worth, I think you're pretty all right. Now, if you want to show your love and support, please consider sharing this video with all of those you love too. And don't forget to really give an F with your faith, your family, and your friends. Until next time, let's go Brandon, and stay healthy, America.
Follow the science. Literally none of the celebrities and wealthy elites attending the Super Bowl were wearing a mask or concerned about social distancing. Is the pandemic over? Well, in case you missed it, Los Angeles was hopping on Sunday when the Rams beat the Cincinnati Bengals in the Super Bowl, but I hope you didn't miss the hyper-liberal hypocrisy that was on display for the world to see. I'm David Fiorazzo, and this is Christ and Culture. So children are forced to wear masks 8 hours a day at many government schools across the country, and especially in Los Angeles. But if you're a wealthy celebrity or in the elite class in Hollywood, you get a pass. Rules don't apply to them. You might be asking, who cares what celebrities do or don't do? Well, it should be called out when they preach, virtue signal, and condescend to others, but ignore their own words. Now, okay, I personally don't care if they wear a mask or not. Just let the rest of us ignore current or future mandates as well, then. In a blatant display of hypocrisy, countless elites, celebrities, and a handful of Democrat politicians, including the mayor of Los Angeles, thumbed their noses at the mask mandate. Now, the point here is they all violated Los Angeles city mandates and the county, including LeBron James, Charlize Theron, Matt Damon, Jennifer Lopez, Ben Affleck, Mark Wahlberg, Jay-Z, Ellen DeGeneres, Will Ferrell, Ryan Reynolds, Dwayne Johnson, Kevin Hart, Mayor Garcetti, Emmett Smith, Magic Johnson, Draymond Green, Andy Garcia, Russell Wilson, NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell, Sean Penn, Tracy Morgan, and the list could go on. Thomas More Society's Jenna Ellis commented on this. LA just held an indoor event for 4+ hours with over 75,000 people, including the mayor, with no masks or social distancing. This is the same LA County that threatened jail time for an 82-year-old pastor for having a church service indoors. Are you paying attention yet? Now, the NFL required all attendees to wear a face mask at SoFi Stadium in Los Angeles during the Super Bowl. Both the LA County Public Health website and the NFL stated this: fans will be required to comply with all LA County COVID-19 health and safety protocols to enter the Super Bowl campus at SoFi Stadium. Updated protocols include, but are not limited to, a mandatory mask requirement inside the stadium for everyone over 2 years of age, regardless of vaccination status. A jam-packed stadium. Tens of thousands eating, drinking, cheering, and maybe even spitting. Remember when churches were limited in worship and even restricted, and many even tried holding services outdoors? So what about those who were outdoors, by the way? This is interesting. Before the Super Bowl, during the song Lift Every Voice and Sing, also known as the Black National Anthem, the LA Youth Orchestra were all wearing masks while performing as Mary Mary sang outside the stadium. Follow the science, everybody. As for entitled Democrats, you've seen stories about Nancy Pelosi, Andrew Cuomo, Gavin Newsom, Gretchen Whitmer, and many others ignoring their own required distancing and mask mandates in their city or state as they demanded others comply and obey. So it's no surprise Georgia's progressive peach, Stacey Abrams, appeared on far-left CNN last week and lied about social distancing at an elementary school she visited for a photo op. She also violated Georgia's mask mandate at schools and was caught barefaced when her campaign tweeted a photo of her with all the children jammed together and wearing their little masks. Now, let's clarify for those of you keeping score at home. Young children who have extremely low chances of contracting the virus are all masked up, while Stacey Abrams, who is middle-aged and quite overweight, apparently feels the rules don't apply to her. Now, hypocrisy is nothing new for the ruling class, but more people should be waking up to the fact that maybe they don't believe the so-called science that they say applies to the rest of us. Again, be reminded that science doesn't speak. Scientists do. From climate change hysteria and declarations of systemic racism to COVID panic porn, fear-mongering, and lockdowns, call out the hypocrites and do not follow their lead. Now, this is interesting. You know, Jesus often challenged and confronted the most educated, wealthy, and self-righteous leaders of his day, calling them blind guides. Maybe we have to follow his example. Referring to those who taught the law and promoted the law, he said this, "But do not do what they do, for they do not practice what they preach. They tie up heavy, burdensome loads and put them on other people's shoulders, but they themselves are not willing to lift a finger to move them. Everything they do is done for people to see, to be noticed. They love the place of honor at banquets and the most important seats in the synagogues. They love to be greeted with respect in the marketplaces and to be called rabbi, master, or teacher by others. For those who exalt themselves will be humbled, and those who humble themselves will be exalted. Woe to you, teachers of the law and Pharisees, you hypocrites! You are like whitewashed tombs, which look beautiful on the outside, but on the inside are full of the bones of the dead and everything unclean. In the same way, on the outside you appear to people as righteous, but on the inside you are full of hypocrisy and wickedness." That's in Matthew chapter 23. Now, though the context is different, I believe there are parallels to what's happening today. So, should we give the left, leaders and influencers, a pass and just look the other way about these things? Should we follow the example of Christ, our King, and have the courage to speak to the powerful and point out hypocrisy? We are in a dangerous place in America, friends, when people become apathetic or begin accepting double standards as normal, thinking that we can't do anything about it. Think again and act accordingly. God bless you, and keep speaking the truth about things that matter.
It's time now for some real education. All week, we've been showcasing our Heroes of the West series. We're very proud of it. These 5-minute videos are designed to educate adults and children alike on some of the greatest men and women who left their mark on Western culture. And we actually choose people who the left are going after, petty leftists. So we do lots of interesting people who the left might want to cancel, but we're going to keep reminding people, and children in particular, of how important these people were. Today, we're wrapping things up at a look at Marie Curie. Enjoy.
Of all the female scientists to make contributions to our collective knowledge of the universe, none shone brighter or broke more barriers for women than Madame Marie Curie. Born Maria Skłodowska in 1867 in Warsaw, Poland, Curie grew up in a house of educators. Her father taught math and physics, while her mother ran a boarding school for girls until the birth of Maria. Since women were not allowed to attend universities at that time, Maria served instead as a governess after obtaining her basic education. She continued educating herself, however, focusing specifically on advancing her intense interest in scientific subjects. In 1891, she left Poland for Paris, France, to further her studies in physics, chemistry, and math. At the University of Paris, the Sorbonne, she obtained licentiateships in physics and mathematical sciences, achievements comparable to master's degrees in today's universities. After being denied an academic appointment at Krakow University in Poland because of her gender, Curie settled for a position at the Sorbonne in the School of Physics, eventually becoming head of the department. It was there she met her husband, Pierre, also a professor of physics. The two wed in 1895, Marie wearing a dark blue dress that also doubled as her laboratory clothing. The Curies had two daughters, Irene and Eve, before the tragic death of Pierre in 1906. In over a decade of marriage, the Curies achieved great scientific discoveries working as a team. In 1903, they shared the Nobel Prize in Physics with Henri Becquerel for their joint research on the radiation phenomenon. Marie and Pierre also discovered the elements radium and polonium. Marie chose the name polonium as a way of honoring her homeland of Poland. She eventually produced radium as a pure metal in 1910, garnering her a second Nobel Prize, this in the field of chemistry. In 1914, Curie went on to become director of the Curie Laboratory in the Radium Institute of the University of Paris. During World War I, Curie developed small X-ray units that were used to diagnose injuries near the battlefront. But despite such practical, real-world applications of her science, her passion remained laboratory research. Just 2 decades later, in Savoy, France, Curie died on July 4, 1934, at the age of 66. She died from aplastic anemia, which was caused by her exposure to radiation during her research. Curie's passion for science contributed to her demise, but the study of science continued in the Curie family as daughter Irene followed in her mother's footsteps, eventually winning a Nobel Prize in chemistry with her husband in 1935. Marie Curie was the first person to win 2 Nobel Prizes, is one of just 2 people to win in 2 different fields of study, and is one of just 4 to win multiple Nobels. Madame Curie understood well that perfection was not something to be obtained by mere mortals. Nevertheless, she worked tirelessly to advance the cause of science, observing that one never notices what has been done. One can only see what remains to be done.
And I want to take a moment now to thank our Patriot Club members for making these videos possible. Their financial support provides the resources to bring these incredible stories to life for all to enjoy. In fact, we have a dozen more scripts we'd like to get to work on. All we need are some more donors. All we need are the finances to make them a reality. So if you're not already a donor, not already a member of our Patriot Club, please consider joining. It's only $99 once a year. It is a tax-deductible gift that helps us make these kinds of award-winning video series. We've won 6 awards for our video work over the last 10 years. So we want to keep that moving forward. Simply visit patriotclub.us to get started, and thank you very much. All right, before we wrap things up, I do want to take a moment and show some love to our existing Patriot Club members. Today, we give a shout out to James from Rossville, Tennessee. Thank you so much, James, for your support. And that's going to do it for the show. I'm Dr. Duke. Until next time, stay educated, my friends.